She crossed the room slowly, and every step felt like a challenge, and I watched in quiet focus as the floor lights pulsed under soft blue glass. She had learned the new rhythm of the station after only one day. Humans liked rhythm. It gave the heart a promise and a promise. Could move. A mountainly stood at her side and held a small toolkit to her chest. Her voice was steady and warm like a campfire in winter. "The council ship waits for us," she said in a calm way, without fear. Nora nodded and kept walking behind them. The bay doors hummed like a sleeping. Walith alien sisters waited by the clear wall. They were tall and silver-skinned, and their hair looked like rivers of night. Yet their eyes shone with the same light that Lily knew. From home, Hopamagon checked the map on her wristband. She whispered that the route was blocked on level 3. Grace shook her head and said they would make a new route on level 2. Humans build bridges when they find a gap, she said with a small smile. Nora placed her palm on the door, and the wall opened like a quiet breath. The air inside was cool and carried a hint of pine from the oxygen grove. It reminded her of summer walks and clean laundry on a quiet street. She felt her shoulders relax for a moment. Then she heard the distant tremor and knew the test had begun. Council had sent a signal. They wanted proof that humans were not only strong, but also kind. The alien sisters did not ask for battle. They asked for courage. With open hands, they asked for trust. Nora led the group into the corridor. Lily and Megan flanked her left and right. Like steady stars, Grace walked behind and watched the path. They moved with calm steps and soft breathe. The little girl waited ahead near a service hatch. She had silver skin like the sisters. Her eyes were wide as the moon over farmland. She held a metal ring tight in both. Hans and Nora knelt and spoke in a soft voice. "We will help you." The girl nodded and pointed at the hatch. Her mother is inside the walls, she whispered in a dry voice. Her mother keeps the pressure valves open with her hands if she lets go. The Grove Will Filelli took the toolkit and passed it to Megan. Megan opened it and found a manual winch and fiber cable. "Grace checked the studs and the anchor points. We can hold the load together," she said. Nora felt the weight of that promisathy. Spun the winch and threaded the cable through the hatch frame. Nora slid into the crawl space without fear. She moved like a swimmer in shallow water, each elbow touch, each knee slide slow and steady. Crawl space led to a glass vein that ran behind the oxygen grove. An alien woman held the primary valve open with both forearms. Her breath was slow, but her arms shook. She did not speak at first. Then she looked at Nora and gave a small nod. Nora whispered her name in return. She told the woman that humans were here to share the weight, not to take the honor, not to steal the moment, but to share it. Lively called in a calm tone from outside the hatch. "The anchors are set. Megan is at the winch. Grace counts the load. We move on your count." Nora met the alien woman eye to eye. She said, "We will pull together on 3, but she did not say the numbers out loud. She breathed them slowly so the woman could follow the rhythm. Inhale, hold, pull. Cable grew tight like a violin string. The winch began to sing in a low hum. Megan turned the handle with patient strength. Grace guided the tension with the care of a nurse. Lily kept one hand on the anchor and one on the little girl's shoulder. Valve rose a little, and then a little more. Nora felt the strain slide off the alien woman's arms. The cable took the weight, and the woman sagged back in relief. Nora supported her and eased her into the crawl space. They moved like two friends. Walking home from a long shift outside the hatch, the little girl pressed the metal ring into Nora's palm. "For you," she said, "because you came when we called." Nora closed her fingers around the ring and felt its warmth. She did not know its meaning yet, but she knew it. Matorid sirens groaned in the far bay. The council test was not over. It had moved to the next page. Humans sometimes call this timing bad luck, but Nora called it a second chance to prove the same truth. He hurried toward the sound. The path bent past an observation deck where blue gas waves rolled like slow seas. Grace paused and stared for one breath, and then she moved again. Beauty was not a reason to stop today. Beauty was a reason to go faster. Heavy door blocked the next junction. Lily tried the panel and shook her head. Megan said the battery backup was flat. Nora looked at the hinges and the seam and the bolts. She did not see While she saw puzzle humans turn problems into games when fear tries to win, so she made a plan in simple steps. Megan would brace the winch on a crossbar, Lily would wedge the seam with the flat of a pry blade. Grace would count to keep their breath. In one line on her signal, they would pull the cable. Sang again. The door moaned like a hill under snow. Metal gave way. With a stubborn sigh, the path opened to a room filled with pale fog. Inside stood 3 council observers in long coats. They watched with quiet eyes and said nothing. Nara did not slow. She crossed the room slowly, and every step felt like a challenge. Not because of the coats or the eyes or the test marks on the wall, but because she carried the ring from the little girl, and a ring is a circle, and a circle means return. She had to return the trust that was given to Hearth's lead observer. Raised a hand in greeting. His gesture was polite and distant. Grace answered with a nod and a steady look. Lily said that the grove would hold thanks to shared hands. Megan added that the door would also hold for the next team. No one bragged, no one asked for praise. Observer pointed to the far screen, a map of the station. Lit in warm green lines, a red vein ran into the lower hull. Where the shuttle docks waited, the line pulsed in a slow beat like a tired heart. "We need that heart restored," the observer said. In a low voice, Honora turned to the team. "We know the way." She did not ask permission. She did not wait for orders. Human hearts move when they see a need. That is the oldest duty, and the first gift. They followed the red line through a narrow stairwell. The steps were smooth and faintly warm, as if long stories slept inside them. Megan counted under her breath and kept the rhythm strong. Grace ran a hand on the rail for the younger ones behind them. Lily checked their oxygen levels with a handheld sensor and clean. Quick glances. Lower hull smelled like steel and rain. The shuttle bay doors stood open to a dark void where the planet turned in quiet pride. Below, a broken hose flicked in the air like a small gray snake. Spray drifted in sparkles and then froze in tiny grains that fell like silent sand. Nora moved to the control post and scanned the labels. With calm eyes, she had trained on machinery that was older and louder back home. This rig was young and elegant, but laws were laws, pressure and flow and balance still. Listen to the same simple language. Grows found the manual override and set her palms on the bar. Lily knelt by the hose and placed a clamp just wide enough to hold. Without cutting, Megan wheeled a repair cart and pulled a fresh line. Free. Nora stood at the panel and kept her breath slow so her hands would be steady. Acted as one body in 4 parts. When Grace pressed the bar, the pressure eased. When Lily set the clamp, the spray slowed. When Megan threaded the fresh line, the bay felt like a chest taking a first full breath. When Nora sealed the command, the system purred like a well-fed cath. Map on the panel turned from red to gold. Lights around the dock stepped into a calm, steady pattern. The quiet that followed felt like a warm blanket after cold rain. Nora closed her eyes for 1 second and thought of the ring in her pocket. Council observers arrived without sound. The lead one placed a thin card on the cart and bowed his head in respect. He said the test was complete and that the station would remember this day. He said that humans had shown a kind of strength that grows instead of breaks. McGinn looked at her boots and smiled. Shy smile. Lily squeezed the little girl's shoulder again and told her that her mother had saved the grove. Grace asked for a simple thing she asked for. Shared meals and shared stories. She said that trust becomes a road only when people walk it together. Nora took the ring from her pocket and offered it back to the little girl. The girl shook her head and held her hands behind her back in playful refusal. She said that the ring meant you came when you were called. She said that keeping it meant you would come again. Nora did not argue. She held the ring and felt it circle again. She thought about the way a circle has no hard beginning and no sharp end. She thought about how people meet and help and part and then meet again. She thought about how a promise moves like a planet around a star. The alien mother stepped from the corridor with slow, careful steps. Her arms still trembled, but her eyes were strong. She stood before Nora and her team and bent her head in thanks. Then she looked at the council observers in silence for a long breath. Lead observer lowered his eyes and removed his badge. He placed it on the floor and stepped back. He said that today, judgment belonged to those who held the valve and those who brought the cable. He said that titles were small next to action. Grace Whispered to Lily that this was how change begins. Megan asked if they could rest now, because her hands felt like tired clay. Nora smiled and said that rest was not surrender, and that brave rest is part of brave work. They all laughed softly without sound because Joy was a quiet bird in that moment. New alarms did not call them this time. Instead, a song drifted in from the oxygen grove. It was a low, bright hum that sounded like a field in morning sun. Children and elders and workers moved together between tall rows of trees. They carried baskets and tools and warm bowls of soup. Nora and H